Good morning, dear students. We are going to discuss reproductive system, male reproductive system histology. So let us see what are the various parts we have in the male reproductive system. So now see here, in the male reproductive system, we will come across the external genitalia. Okay, and then we will see we have two scrotal sacs. So on each side, then inside this scrotal sac, we have the gonad, that is testis. Over the testis, we have epididymis. Epididymis, it has head, body, and tail. The tail of the epididymis is continuing as vas deferens. The vas deferens goes behind the urinary bladder. This is urinary bladder. Behind the urinary bladder, we have one more accessory organ of male reproductive system, that is seminal vesicle. So vas deferens and seminal vesicles will join to form ejaculatory duct. So at the neck of the urinary bladder, we have one more accessory gland of male reproductive system, that is prostate gland. Ejaculatory duct actually opens in the prostatic part of the urethra. Okay, then as you just come down below this prostate gland, there is one more accessory gland of male reproductive system, that is bulbourethral gland. Okay, so like that, these are the various things which we come across in male reproductive system. So it consists of pair of testes, which are chief important gonads. Okay, then we have like genital ducts, like this is the epididymis, ductus deferens. Then we have ejaculatory duct. Then accessory sex glands are seminal vesicles, prostate gland, bulbourethral gland. Okay, then we have male urethra, which is the common passage for both urine and also for the seminal fluid, and the external genitalia, that is penis. Okay, the main function of male reproductive organs are production of sperms, that is spermatogenesis, production of sex steroid hormones, that is testosterone. So it helps in deposition of sperms in the female reproductive tract. Now these are the parts of male reproductive system which we have seen. Now let us see the gonad first. Very, very important structure. What we have inside this scrotal sac is testis. So when you see the cut section of testis, basically the testis will have three coverings. The outermost covering of the testis, which is shown in green color over here with two layers, that is tunica vaginalis. Below tunica vaginalis, we have tunica albuginea, and below that we have tunica vasculosa. So when you see the cut section, we will see inside the testis many compartments are there. So in each compartment, you are finding these coiled structures. These coiled structures are nothing but seminiferous tubules. All these seminiferous tubules will join at this reti testis area. So from the reti testis, we have efferent ductules coming. So these efferent ductules will join to form the epididymis. The epididymis, it has head, body, and tail. The tail of the epididymis continues as vas deferens, also called as ductus deferens. Okay, so testis is singular, testis, T-E-S is plural, that means two in number. They are paired ovoid masses that lie in the sac of scrotum. The testis develop from intermediate mesoderm of the genital ridges in the abdomen. Basically, they migrate from the abdomen into the scrotal sac. Okay, then. The structure of testis, I said it has three coverings, that is the tunica, vaginalis, albuginea, and vasculosa. Then you will see we have all these are septa, which are partitions, and inside we have many lobules. This area is mediastinum testis. So inside these compartments, we have seminiferous tubules. When you see the histology of seminiferous tubules, in between the seminiferous tubules, we have cells called as Leydig cells. We have straight tubules also. Then we have reti testis, this area. Then efferent ductules, right? Then, so these are the coverings of testis, and different pictures have been put here for your better understanding. Okay, so that is. Now coming to the microscopic structure of testis, because now we are more bothered about histological features. Now inside the testis, I said these coiled structures. What are they called as? Seminiferous tubules. So seminiferous tubules are the areas where spermatogenesis is taking place. So seminiferous tubules are lined by complex stratified epithelium called as seminiferous epithelium. It has two types of cells. One is Sertoli cells, and which are actually supporting our mother cells, our nourishing cells, and we have series of developing spermatogenic cells. Okay, so each seminiferous tubule, this is one seminiferous, all round cut sections you are seeing histologically. These are all seminiferous tubule. This is one lengthy seminiferous tubule, you can see. So these seminiferous tubules are approximately 50 centimeters long and the diameter is 150 to 200 micron meters. Okay, then. So when you see this is the low magnification, what you see, we have stained it with hematoxylin and eosin. These round tubules are all seminiferous tubules. The outer coverings you are finding the tunica albuginea, tunica vasculosa. Okay, and these are the seminiferous tubules. Okay, you are finding developing spermatogonia. Of course, they are not clearly like differentiated because this is under low magnification. When you see this under little bit of high magnification, you will see this is one seminiferous tubule and you are finding the cells with nuclei, right? So these are all developing spermatogonia. So primary spermatocytes, secondary spermatocytes, spermatids, and sperms will be towards the lumen. Okay, so these are all spermatids. Okay, in between the seminiferous tubules, we have interstitial cells of Leydig. Leydig cells are very important because they are concerned with the release of hormone testosterone. Okay, now see here, this is one more picture which is helping us to understand the things better. So this is like seminiferous tubule, and inside the seminiferous tubule, we will see all developing spermatogonia. Okay, so we have like spermatogonia type A we have, then we have spermatogonia type B, okay, and then primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, okay, then we have these spermatids which will be undergoing maturation to form actually spermatozoon. Okay, we will see the details as we proceed. The microscopic structure of testis. So we have Sertoli cells. The microscopic structure of testis you are finding, see, we have supporting cells which are called as Sertoli cells. You see here and there in the middle. We have supporting cells which are also called as sustentacular cells. Okay, I'll show you one separate picture also. See, this is one Sertoli cell which is sky blue in color, light blue in color. This is one Sertoli cells. That means these are all developing spermatogonia. So in between developing spermatogonia from here till the lumen, you have only one cell, which is quite lengthy. Okay, so that is the Sertoli cells. So here in the histological picture also, you are finding these big nuclei containing cells is nothing but Sertoli cells. These are supporting cells which are columnar in type or pyramidal in shape with light staining euchromatic nucleus. On ascending staining, these cells cannot be distinguished. So Sertoli cells represent true epithelium of seminiferous tubules. Okay. So we also find Charcot-Butcher's inclusion bodies. Now let us see the functions of Sertoli cells. So they secrete androgen binding protein. Okay, they secrete also inhibin secretion of plasminogen activator and transferrin, which is iron supporting protein. So Sertoli cells also support and nourish the developing spermatogonia. They also bring about phagocytosis of residual bodies after spermiogenesis. So Sertoli cells are very, very important. Please remember. Now coming to the microscopic structure, we are finding the spermatogenic cells. So they are derived from primordial germ cells. Okay, so which we will usually see during the embryology classes. So they replicate and form various stages of spermatogenesis. They are arranged in stratified manner from the basal lamina to the lumen. So this is the basal lamina. Okay, and this is the lumen. From the basal lamina, you will see the arrangement is till the lumen. Okay, I will show you with the other picture. See, this is the basal lamina and this is the lumen. From here till the lumen, we are finding the arrangement of developing spermatogonia. Spermatogenesis is taking place. You can see we have spermatogonia type A transforming into spermatogonia type B. From here, you will see the formation of primary spermatocyte. Then we have secondary spermatocytes. Then we have the formation of spermatids. The spermatids will transform into mature sperms, which are seen in the lumen of seminiferous tubule. Okay, so that is. So they are arranged in stratified manner, just now I've shown you, from the basal lamina to the lumen. So the stages are spermatogonia, spermatocytes, spermatids, and spermatozoa. In any cross section of seminiferous tubules, all these cells we can see. Okay, but sometimes few cells may not be seen also. So the spermatogenic cycle, it is a wave of germ cycle maturation that reverses along the length of seminiferous tubule. Now coming to the like lamina propria or tunica propria, which is thin layer of connective tissue that surrounds each seminiferous tubule, what I am showing you here. So they do not contain fibroblasts. Okay, it consists of 5 layers of contractile myoid or peritubular cells external to the basal lamina. So this is our basal lamina. Outside to the basal lamina, we have myoid or peritubular cells. So rhythmic contraction of these myoid cells help in expulsion of sperms and seminiferous tubule secretions. Now, in between the seminiferous tubules, I told you we have support like interstitial cells, in between cells. These cells are called as Leydig cells. Okay, they lie in the connective tissue between adjacent seminiferous tubules. They are large polygonal eosinophilic cells with a round nucleus, as you can see here. Leydig cells have luteinizing hormone receptors. So luteinizing hormone stimulates Leydig cells for the production of testosterone. So steroid secreting foamy eosinophilic cytoplasm, because Leydig cells have well developed smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Hence it takes like eosinophilic state. Okay. Functions is testosterone synthesis. Okay, and also crystals of Ranke. We will see in between. Then spermatogenesis is the formation of spermatozoa from the spermatogonia. So spermatogenesis occurs in 3 phases: spermatocytosis, meiosis, and spermiogenesis. So spermatocytosis is conversion of spermatogonia into primary spermatocyte. So human spermatogonia, they are classified into 3 types based on the appearance of nuclei under hematoxylin and eosin staining. So we have type A, which are actually dark spermatogonia. Then we have type A, pale spermatogonia also. Then we have type A spermatogonia and type B spermatogonia. Okay. So next stage we have is, see, meiosis. So meiosis, spermatocyte phase, it involves the conversion of primary spermatocytes into spermatids. Okay. So the chromosome number is now halved. So one spermatid will be receiving something like 23X and the other is 23Y. Okay. Then primary spermatocyte and meiosis form 2 secondary spermatocytes that later undergo meiosis 2 to produce 4 spermatids. So 23X, 23X, then 23Y, 23Y. So each spermatid contains single stranded haploid DNA. Okay, because now it is 23X, right? 23Y. So it is not 46, right? So hence it is haploid. Now see, this is the basement membrane or the basal lamina. So these are all developing spermatogonia. Okay, then we are finding the spermatogonia is type A, type B. Then we have primary spermatocytes, secondary spermatocytes, spermatids. Then we have mature sperms. In between these supporting cells is nothing but you have serotonin cells, mother cells, nourishing cells. Now the spermiogenesis, what is this? So sometimes we may get a question like write a short notes on spermiogenesis. It's a process of metamorphosis of spermatids by which they get converted into mature spermatozoon. The metamorphosis is change in the form of cell. So the four phases of spermiogenesis are, we have Golgi phase, okay, then we have the formation of cap phase, then we have acrosomic phase, and then we have maturation phase. Most of the cytoplasm of the spermatid is shed as Raynaud residual body. You can see here. Most of the cytoplasm is shed in this way, which is Raynaud's residual body. So that is serotoli cell is going to phagocytose these residual bodies. So spermiation, finally, spermatozoa are released into the lumen of seminiferous tubules. This is spermiation. So you are finding the gradual change of the spermatid into mature sperm, which is spermiogenesis. Okay. So we have Golgi apparatus is still there. You find this as the Golgi phase. It looks like a cap, that is the cap phase. You will see acrosomic cap is formed, that is the acrosome phase. Okay, and then maturation, which involves the removal of excess cytoplasm in the form of Raynaud's residual body. Now, structure of mature sperm. We have been studying right from our schooling. It's quite popular picture. So it is having like head, then neck is there, the middle piece is there, and then we have tail. Overall, the length of this mature sperm is 50 to 60 micrometers. So in single ejaculation during sexual intercourse, 200 to 300 million sperms are emitted in a volume of 2.5 ml of semen. So now coming to the head of the sperm, it is pyriform, flattened and pointed structure. So it has a cap, you can see here, you call it as acrosomal cap, which covers the anterior two-thirds of the nucleus. See, this is the nucleus and this is the anterior two-thirds, which is covered by acrosomic cap. Acrosome contains digestive enzymes like hyaluronidase and acrosin that helps to break the outer wall of ovum. That outer wall we will study in embryology as zona pellucida. That will be broken because of the presence of these digestive enzymes, hyaluronidase and acrosin. Now, after the head, we have this middle piece, neck area is there, middle piece area is there, which is followed by tail. Okay, and now when you check the middle piece, it has lot of, so many mitochondria are seen. So the purpose of this mitochondria is, we know like sperm is a very active motile structure which is deposited in vagina. It travels all the way in the cervix, the uterine lumen, it enters into the fallopian tube, and we know in the ampulla of fallopian tube, fertilization takes place. Hence, so it requires a lot of energy for the traveling purpose, for which it has so many mitochondria in the middle piece. Okay, so the tail of the sperm is divided into neck, mid, and end piece. So neck, middle piece, and annulus, which is a ring-like structure. Okay, principal piece. Then we have axial filament. Okay, then axonemal complex. It is called as maturation and capacitation of spermatozoon. The sperms are released from Sertoli cells are actually non-motile. They get partial motility when they reach the epididymis. So capacitation. After ejaculation, the sperms in female reproductive tract undergo capacitation, which is maturation of sperms. It involves removal of glycoprotein coat from sperm. It enhances sperm motility and makes the acrosome ready to release lysosomal enzymes. Okay, now let us see the different pictures which the figure number was given there in the slide. We have like spermatogonia here, the pale type A spermatogonia, dark type A spermatogonia, and type B spermatogonia. We have primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, which are maturing into spermatids. This is one single cell which is extending from the basal lamina to the lumen of seminiferous tubule, which is Sertoli cell. Okay. Then this is the ultrastructure. Now see, you have to understand this is our basal lamina. These are the spermatogonia, spermatogonium type A, type B. Then we have primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte. These are the spermatids which will be transforming into spermatozoon. This is the lumen. Now, if you observe carefully between these developing spermatogonia, we have one single big cell extending from the basal lamina to the lumen. So, what is the name of this cell? Serratolli cell. Serratolli cell. Now, this is one Serratolli cell. This is one more Serratolli cell. These are the areas where we have junctions between the Serratolli cells, and these junctions are called as tight junctions. Okay, tight junctions. Now, the seminiferous tubules, these are our seminiferous tubules, right? Tube, 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 tube. Okay, so they drain into this straight tubules. Okay, so from here, and then into the testis that drains into efferent duct. So that means from ready testes, efferent ductules. That means that is the journey of sperms we are talking about. Okay, so we have straight tubules, okay, which are actually these, okay, they are also called as tubuli rectae. So short terminal part of the seminiferous tubules which are straight, okay. So their proximal part is lined by simple columnar epithelium and Serratolli cells, whereas distal part is lined by simple cuboidal cells. Then we have retitestis. After straight tubules, these are straight tubules. After straight tubules, this is retitestis. Okay, so retitestis is complex series of anastomosing tubules. All these straight tubules only are forming a network to form retitestis. They are lined by low cuboidal or low columnar cells with single flagellum. It can be a neat question, neat PC entrance question. Then coming to efferent ductules, the efferent ductules collect the sperms from retitestis. That means further journey of sperms after retitestis, you are seeing the formation of efferent ductules. They collect the sperms from retitestis. It consists of 12 to 15 ducts, efferent ductules. These are lined by simple ciliated columnar epithelium resting on thin lamina propria and circular smooth muscles. Okay. Now this is the flow chart of spermatogenesis. We have primordial germ cells, type A dark spermatogonia, which undergoes mitosis to form type A pale spermatogonia. It undergoes mitosis to form type B spermatogonia. From there, we see the formation of primary spermatocytes. Here, meiosis begins. Meiosis 1 leads to the formation of 2 secondary spermatocytes. Meiosis 2 leads to the formation of 4 spermatids and also the residual bodies. 4 spermatids will mature to form spermatozoa. Okay, so this is the picture I told you is spermiogenesis. Okay, cap formation is there, acrosomic cap, isn't it? Then residual body, and then you will see the spermatid is transforming into mature sperm. Okay, so this is the structure of sperm where we have head, where nucleus, acrosomic cap, neck, middle piece with so many mitochondria. Okay, this is annulus, it has fibrous sheath, and this is tail piece, right? No. Histology of testis. So you are finding these are all seminiferous tubules. In between we have Leydig cells. In each seminiferous tubules we have developing spermatogonia. Towards the lumen we have mature sperms, right? In between we have Leydig cells, right? So within the seminiferous tubules you also find long supporting cell, that is Serratolli cell, right? So histology of testis in the form of flowchart. If you see the coverings, we have 3. It can be 3 marks question. What are the coverings of testis? The tunica albuginea, tunica vasculosa, and tunica vaginalis. Okay, these are the 3 coverings. Now, see, we have incomplete lobules. Inside the lobules, we have the seminiferous tubules. In each lobule, we have spermatogenic cells like spermatogonia type A, dark, type A pale, type B. Then we have spermatocytes, primary and secondary. We have spermatid, spermatozoa. Serratolli cells are large pyramidal cells, supporting cells, and they remove residual bodies. These are seen. Then interstitial cells are polygonal cells with a round nucleus. They line clusters between seminiferous tubules. Straight tubules lined by Serratolli cells Retitestis is lined by simple cuboidal to columnar cells. Okay. Once we are done with testis, we have epididymis. So epididymis is crescent-shaped structure present along the posterior superior surface of testis. The length of epididymis is 7.5 centimeters. In epididymis, the sperms acquire motility. Please remember this fact. It will be asked in Viva. So the parts of epididymis are head, body, tail. So the head is occupied by efferent ductules. So whatever ductules you are finding here, these are efferent ductules. Then the body and tail accommodate a single highly coiled duct of epididymis. The parts of the epididymis are head, body, and tail. The tail of the epididymis continues as vas deferens, also called as ductus deferens. Okay. Then, now, when you come to the duct of epididymis, see here, the length is 4 to 6 centimeters. The lining epithelium in the epididymis, you will see it is lined by pseudostratified columnar epithelium. It has tall principal cells and short basal cells. You can see here. These are the tall principal cells, and in between we have small basal cells. Okay, so this is the cut section of epididymis where we are finding so many tube-like structures lined by pseudostratified columnar epithelium. So principal cells have numerous long modified microvilli called stereocilia. You can see here. Principal cells are quite big and they are showing the stereocilia. There are hollow cells also. These are few intraepithelial lymphocytes found in the epididymis. Okay, here and there we may find these are nothing but lymphocytes, okay, which are called as hollow cells. Then we have muscle coat. You can check. This is the muscle coat. If you see in one section of epididymis, outside we have muscle coat. So it consists of thin layers of circular smooth muscle cells. These help in propulsion of sperms into epididymis from efferent ductules. These muscles also help in ejaculation. In the lumen of epididymis, we are finding the sperms. Okay, these are all tubules or the ductules of epididymis. Now, the function of epididymis is it is reservoir of sperms, absorption of excess fluid secreted by testis, phagocytosis of residual bodies and also defective sperms, secretion of surface associated decapacitation factor, that is glycoprotein. Now we know epididymis is single highly coiled duct where we have epithelium. What is the epithelium? I said, what is the lining epithelium we have? So that is pseudostratified columnar epithelium where we have principal cell, basal cells. Principal cells contain stereocilia, no goblet cells here. Functions of these cells are actually absorption, phagocytosis of residual bodies and secretion of glycoproteins. If you just remember, I said we also have smooth muscle layer surrounding each ductule of epididymis. So here you will see this is made up of circular smooth muscles gradually increases in thickness. Okay, so this is the cut section of epididymis. So here we are finding so many cross sections of ductus epididymis. In each ductus epididymis, you are finding pseudostratified epithelium where we have principal cells, basal cells, and here towards the base we also have the smooth muscle layer. The principal cells will contain stereocilia. Okay, in the lumen of the epididymis will contain sperms. Now let us try to understand something about the blood testis barrier, also called as ceratolysal barrier. So if you observe this picture, so if you see, these are the developing spermatogonia, right? Spermatogonia, dark, light, type A, then spermatogonia type B, primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, spermatids and mature sperms. Now in between, you are finding this is one Sertoli cell, this is one more Sertoli cell. So in between Sertoli cells, we have blood testis barrier, which is a physical barrier between seminiferous tubules and blood vessels. The structure is, let us see the structure of this blood testis barrier. We are finding these are the adjacent walls of Sertoli cells where we have this tight junctional complexes that divide the seminiferous tubule epithelium, seminiferous epithelium into two compartments. Okay, this side you call it as basal compartment and this side we call it as luminal compartment. So the basal compartment, okay, is present between the basement membrane and junctional complexes. It contains spermatogonia and primary spermatocytes. This is spermatogonia and primary spermatocyte. Till here, you call it as basal compartment. Then from here till here, whatever extension of membrane is there, that is adluminal or luminal compartment. It lies towards the lumen of the seminiferous tubule. Okay, so luminal side of the junctional complexes, it contains the remaining like secondary spermatocytes, then we have spermatids. So the primary spermatocyte moves from the basal to the luminal compartment by breakage of luminal junctional complex and formation of new basal junctional complex. The function is separate haploid germ cells from immune system and prevent formation of sperm specific antibodies. Okay. Now the clinical correlation. There may be a clinical condition where the cilia are not motile. You call that as immotile cilia syndrome, that is Cartagener's syndrome. Cryptorchidism is a condition where testes are not descending down, which may lead to infertility. The factors affecting spermatogenesis are, so like male infertility can be protected by all these if you take care. So good diet is always important because of if it is not available, it may affect spermatogenesis. Environmental factors, developmental disorders, infections, steroid hormones, toxic agents, ionizing radiations. All these factors will affect spermatogenesis. Once you are done with testes, now let us see vas difference. We have seen testis, we have seen epididymis. Head, body, tail, right? Tail of epididymis is continuing as a long, lengthy tube measuring 45 centimeters. So this long, lengthy tube, 45 centimeters, as long as spinal cord, as long as thoracic duct. So the name of this duct is vas deferens, also called as ductus deferens. If you see the sagittal section of this male pelvis, you are finding just behind the pubic bone, you are finding urinary bladder. Hence, the vas deferens is going behind the urinary bladder and it is joining with the duct of seminal vesicle to form ejaculatory duct which opens in the prostatic urethra. This gland is prostate. Okay. Now, when you see the histology of this 45 centimeters tube, vas deferens, it has mucus layer, okay, which is lining inside. Okay, as you move from inside to outside, we have mucus layer, we have muscle layer, then we have connective tissue layer, which is adventitia. Mucosa, muscle layer, and adventitia. Okay. Now, the ductus deferens is the continuation of epididymis, tail of epididymis. We know this. It's thick-walled muscular tube that extends from epididymis to ejaculatory duct. It ascends along the posterior pole of testis, okay, in the spermatic cord. We will learn the details of spermatic cord when we do abdomen. In addition to vas deferens, the spermatic cord contains testicular artery, artery of vas deferens. Don't worry about spermatic cord at all now. We will discuss in detail when we do abdomen. The terminal part of vas deferens is dilated and it is called ampulla. Okay, here it will be ampulla. Now, histology of ductus deferens or vas deferens. So, it consists of three layers, that is mucosa, muscle coat, and adventitia, right? So, the mucosa is like what is, it looks as though it is star, right? So it is star shaped because of the longitudinal folding of mucous membrane. The lining epithelium here, you should remember, it is pseudostratified columnar epithelium with stereocilia. Epithelium shows two types of cells. We see tall columnar cells with stereocilia extending from the basement membrane to the lumen of ductus deferens. Then we have basal cells which are short resting on basal lamina and they act as germinal cells. Then lamina propria, you can see this connective tissue area is lamina propria. The epithelium is surrounded by thin layer of connective tissue, that is the lamina propria. Okay, so in the mucosa, we will find the lining epithelium, pseudostratified columnar epithelium, and then lamina propria. Then we have ductus deferens, also called as vas deferens. So we have, this is our muscle coat. So muscle coat consists of three layers of smooth muscles, like we have inner longitudinal, then we have middle circular and outer longitudinal, three muscle coats. Inner longitudinal, middle circular and outer longitudinal muscle coat. So muscle coat is much thicker than mucosa. It's very much obvious from this picture, right? Then peristaltic contraction of muscle layer helps in propulsion of sperms towards the prostatic urethra. Okay, this outermost covering what we have is adventitia. Now the functions of this vas deferens is peristaltic contraction of ductus deferens helps in rapid propulsion of sperms during ejaculation. Note, it does not store sperms. Storing of sperms was in epididymis, right? Then, see, this is the transverse section, mucosa, muscle layer, and then we have adventitia. Mucosal folding, we have pseudostratified columnar epithelium with lamina propria. Then muscle coat in three layers, inner longitudinal, middle circular, outer longitudinal. Outermost covering is adventitia. Okay, so this is like in a nutshell, everything is written here. So it's a vas deferens, is a thick muscular tube with star-shaped lumen. Please remember, star-shaped lumen, mucosa, pseudostratified columnar epithelium with stereocilia and lamina propria. Smooth muscle coat, inner longitudinal, middle thick circular, outer longitudinal, adventitia, loose areolar tissue. The function of vas deferens is peristaltic contractions which helps in ejaculation. Okay, so once we are done with this, we will also try to do one more part of this male reproductive system. To continue with the male reproductive system part 2, we have accessory sex glands. We will also talk about now prostate, seminal vesicles, and penis. Okay, so male reproductive, like testis, we have just finished testis, epididymis, and vas deferens. Now we are left out with prostate and penis, and also the like seminal vesicles. Also we will see, right? Now, so we will see the seminal vesicles are basically present behind the urinary bladder. This is urinary bladder. At the back of the urinary bladder, green organ is shown. It is exclusively shown behind. From behind, you can see this is the seminal vesicle. At the neck of the urinary bladder, this is neck. This is urinary bladder. So at the neck of the urinary bladder, you are finding violet gland. For our convenience, I am using this color. So that is prostate gland. So this is prostate. Below prostate, you are finding two small glands which are bulbourethral glands, below which we have penis. Okay, so this is the posterior aspect of urinary bladder. I told you vas deferens is showing a bulge before it joins the duct of seminal vesicles. This bulge is ampulla. So ampulla of ductus deferens joins with the duct of seminal vesicles to form ejaculatory duct. That ejaculatory duct opens in the prostatic urethra. So we have seminal vesicles, we have prostate, and we have bulbourethral glands continuing with penis as accessory organs of male reproductive system. So exclusively, if you see, this is the ampulla of vas deferens, this is seminal vesicle which we see on the posterior aspect of urinary bladder. So both of them are joining to form ejaculatory duct. which is piercing the prostate and then opening in the prostatic urethra. Okay, so you can see the seminal vesicles are also highly coiled structures. This is vas deferens ampulla. Both of them are joining to form the ejaculatory duct opening in prostatic urethra. Now let us start with the histology of seminal vesicle. We will see here also the mucosa, muscle layer and adventitia. If you remember me telling you, even in the vas deferens also we had the same layers, mucosa, muscle layer and adventitia. Okay, so now let us see the seminal vesicles. Let's describe them. They are paired, elongated, highly folded glands with irregular lumen. Okay, located at the base of the urinary bladder. This bag is urinary bladder. It consists of single duct 12 to 15 centimeters in length. Okay, that means it's only a single duct and the diameter of this duct is 3 to 4 mm. That is folding on itself, folding upon itself. The duct of seminal vesicle joins with the ductus deferens. We know both of them are joining to form ejaculatory duct. Now let us see the histology of seminal vesicle. We know it has three layers: mucosa, muscle layer and adventitia. Okay, the mucosa is thrown into numerous folds that form many crypts. Okay, these are the mucosal crypts. Okay, then and cavities. Okay, then we have lamina propria in between, like that shows elastic fibers. This feature is same like what we have seen with ductus deferens. The lining epithelium is also like pseudo-stratified, but it is non-ciliated. There it was ciliated. Then we have lamina propria where we have loose connective tissue. This is the lamina propria area. Okay, and we have smooth muscles which are few in number. Now, the muscle layer, let us see the muscle layer. We have like only two layers here. We have inner circular and outer longitudinal. Okay, you can remember ICOL, inner circular, outer longitudinal. Then outermost covering is same, that is adventitia made up of collagen fibers where we have blood vessels. Now the functions of this seminal vesicles is it produces seminal fluid which is rich in fructose, which is main energy source for sperms, and it also releases prostaglandins. It is alkaline in nature that helps to neutralize vaginal secretions which are acidic. It contains lipochrome pigments. Now, seminal vesicle, they are paired sac-like glands, mucosa, pseudostratified columnar epithelium, and we also have lamina propria, smooth muscle, only two inner circular, outer longitudinal, adventitia is loose areolar tissue. Okay, this is one of the seminal vesicle, which is single tube only but highly folded. So many mucosal folds in between which we have these mucosal crypts also, right? The lining epithelium, we know it is pseudostratified columnar epithelium with no cilia, isn't it? Then muscle layer also we have, so inner circular, outer longitudinal. Outermost covering is adventitia. Okay, once you are done with seminal vesicles, let us talk about prostate gland. Prostate gland is situated at the neck of the urinary bladder. Okay, so prostate is largest accessory sex gland of male reproductive system. Size is about that of walnut. Surrounds at the beginning of the urethra, that is the prostatic urethra, consists of 30 to 50 tubulo-alveolar glands. Like this, when you see the cut section of prostate, we have so many glands like surrounding the prostatic urethra. You can see we have glands like mucosal glands, we have submucosal glands and main prostatic glands. Three different colors have been used. Okay, mucosal, submucosal and main prostatic. Okay, then so this is the outer zone. Okay, and this is the internal zone. So these are all groups of prostatic gland. Prostate gland, that means predominantly it has glandular tissue. Okay, histology of prostate is very, very important. So it has parenchyma. The outermost covering of the prostate is thick capsule, that is the outermost cover, below which you will see all these glands are there. So these glands Here it is written, these are actually prostatic glands. Okay, so these are the glands. So glandular epithelium. All this is one gland. This is one gland. Round areas are all glands. So prostatic glands are there, which are embedded in this stroma. So this stroma is fibromuscular stroma. That means we have collagen fibers and we also have smooth muscles here. Hence it is fibromuscular stroma. So in between this is all fibromuscular stroma. So in between fibromuscular stroma, we have the glands, tubuloalveolar glands. So the prostatic glands are of three types, right? Now we have mucosa, submucosa, and main prostatic. This is mucosa, pink is submucosa, outside is prostatic glands. So the lining epithelium of these glands are pseudostratified columnar epithelium, lining epithelium of ducts. In between you have ducts also. This is the excretory ducts which are stratified columnar. Stratified in the sense 2 layers or more than 2 layers. Columnar epithelium. Now, the prostate gland stroma is fibromuscular stroma. Isn't it? I said this all dark pink area is fibromuscular stroma where we contain smooth muscle, collagen fibers, elastin fibers. We also see blood vessels, nerve fibers and lymphatics. See, here and there these are the blood vessels. Okay, we also see lymphatics, nerve fibers. Okay, this is the fibromuscular stroma. Then, if you observe within the glandular tissue, there are collections of some material which is called as prostatic concretion. Prostatic concretions. In some book, it is called as Carporia amylasia also. Same meaning. Carpora amylasia or prostatic concretions. We see in older men, these are nothing but concentric lamellated bodies which are called Carpora amylasia. They are basically made up of glycoprotein which are precipitated, and after precipitation they get calcified. And this Carpora amylasia, you can see what color is it taking in H&E stain. It is taking pink eosinophilic under microscope. The concentric arrangement is visible even in lower light magnification. Number of Carpora amylasia increases with advancing age. Okay, now. So there is one more picture which we'll see. These are all glands. In between glands, these are Carpora amylasia or prostatic concretions. You can see here. Okay, this is the lining epithelium. Then you are finding this is the fibromuscular stroma. Okay, then so prostatic urethra is actually found in the middle. Slide shows us the prostatic part of the urethra. We know the prostatic urethra is passing like within the center of the prostate gland. So this is the prostatic urethra we are finding. Okay. And then you are finding surrounding all prostatic glands are there. Within the prostatic glands, we are finding the Carpora amylasia. These are in between the smooth muscles and the collagen elastin fibers area is the fibromuscular stroma. So this is the prostatic urethra, which is lined by transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium. Okay. Then. So now when you just look at the histology of prostate gland, prostatic urethra, it is lined by transitional epithelium in the upper part, whereas stratified columnar epithelium in the lower part. Functions is the prostate gland secretes prostatic fluid which contains the prostatic acid phosphatase, fibrinolysin, citric acid, and prostate specific antigen. Okay, then is the flow chart which helps to identify in nutshell. So we see the prostate has parenchyma which is made up of 30 to 50 tubuloalveolar glands lined by simple cuboidal to pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Ducts are like simple columnar epithelium, fibromuscular stroma, smooth muscles, collagen and elastin fibers, blood vessels and lymphatics. Connective tissue capsule is outside. Functions of prostate is secretion of prostatic fluid containing acid phosphatase, fibrinolysin citric acid, and also the prostate specific antigen. Okay, then now there is a clinical condition which is called as benign prostatic hypertrophy. Okay, so in this condition you will see the hormones are not, like testosterone is actually getting converted to dihydrocorticosterone, okay, which binds with nuclear androgen receptors, growth of epithelium and stromal cells in prostate. So BHP, that is the benign hypertrophy of prostate gland in transitional and periurethral zone, which is actually compressing the prostatic urethra, which will not allow the urine to go out, leading to urinary flow obstruction. Benign prostatic hypertrophy. Now we are going to the next organ, that is penis, that is the external genitalia, what we see in males. Okay, then. So penis, sometimes we may get a question like this, write a note on the histology of penis. We know it is an erectile organ of copulation in males. It has root and body. The root is the fixed part and the body is the mobile part. So penis consists of 3 masses of erectile tissue. The 2 dorsal masses are called as the corpora cavernosa, which are shown in pink color. Corpora cavernosa, corpora cavernosa. A single ventral mass, that is the corpora spongiosa. In the corpora spongiosa, we have the urethra. And inside the corpora cavernosa, we are finding the patria of penis. Okay. The structure of this erectile tissue, the corpora cavernosa contains numerous vascular spaces lined by vascular endothelium and covered by smooth muscle layer. Corpora spongiosa is sponge-like tissue that surrounds penile urethra. Tunica albuginea, like you will see, it is covering outside. Okay, then skin and connective tissue we will see. Okay, then see this urethra which is passing through the penis, you call it as penile urethra, also called as spongy urethra. So this is the cut section. We have 2 corpora like cavernosa. Okay, then we have 1 corpora spongiosa where urethra is passing. Okay, so like this, try to learn this slide because this is the cross section of the penis. Okay, so if you see in order, the outside covering of penis is skin. Below the skin, we have superficial fascia, that is Colles fascia. Then we have deep fascia, also called as Buck's fascia. Within the superficial fascia area, we have superficial dorsal vein. Then in deep fascia area, we have deep dorsal vein, dorsal artery, and dorsal nerve. Okay, then these are the corpora spongiosa area where we have urethra. Within the cavernosa, we have deep artery of penis. Okay, this is a very beautiful picture of the histological slide which is prepared. Okay, same things we have as labeling: skin, superficial Colles fascia, deep Buck's fascia. We have the tunica albuginea which is covering the corpora cavernosa. You have all so many caverns. Okay, here you have deep artery of penis. This is corpora spongiosa. Inside the spongiosa, we have urethra, isn't it? So, penile urethra, this is. So this is the penile urethra. You can see the lining epithelium here is the columnar epithelium. Okay, so this is the corpora spongiosa. I hope you understood. Study well. All the best.